And they still haven't answered the question yet. Who let the dogs out? I'm back. The underdog, the most unlikely to succeed, the most hated on, the unlikely one to be successful, the unlikely candidate. And it's so good to be back with y'all. Like this is my favorite part of the day. Where I get to get what you got. I'm late though. I'm sorry, because I'm a stickler for time when it comes to my meetings. But I know I'm late, y'all. It was a lot today. It's like 101 degrees where I'm at, and it's stupid hot right now. And I ain't want to get out of bed, but I had to. So and got my walk in, and I'm gonna hit the weights after this, But today's just been a little off, and prepping and things. But I digress. I'm here with you, and you here with me. And whether it's 1 or 1 million, I am grateful for your view. And we're going to cover a few things today. We're going to talk about Texas Tiffany, a.k.a. the Super Mayor, Tiffany Henyard. It's like it's always a shenanigan with her. Like, it's always a thing. Always. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to get into Tulsi Gabbard. She has an interesting name. It's I think her name is Hawaiian. I know she's from the district or represents the district of Hawaii. Tulsi Gabbard. We're going to talk about her because she's switching sides. She done switched up. We also going to talk about what real Democrats are. Like, what's up with the real Democrat, the real Democrat. What's wrong with my tongues today? The real Democratic Party. We're going to talk about that. I stumbled up on some old documentary, and we're going to just take a look at it. It's short. It's like 5 minutes. But I'm going to do a special report on that. I'm going to dig real deep in that because I think it's some stuff that we got to unpack together. But I don't want to take all our time up on that today. But we're gonna touch on it. We're going to taste it. We ain't going to eat it, but we're going to taste it today. And then we're going to follow up with Michaela because that's always a good time with them people calling in and messing with Michaela in the interview. Michaela Montgomery, Trump's secret weapon. So we're going to cover those things. But before I do, I like coffee. I love coffee. I think I have a coffee addiction. I love a good cup of coffee. I'm not much of a drinker. Not like that. In college days and all that, sure. Good whiskey, good cognac, a good yak. Somebody put yak in the track in the chat. Ain't nothing wrong with a good cognac, but these days the thing that gets me going is a really, really good cup of coffee. I think I'm addicted to those white chocolate mochas over there at Starbucks. I haven't had one this week, but I've been thinking about it every day. I've been thinking about it like an ex-girlfriend. It's just something about them. And I tell them, put a little splash of honey. The lady said, how much? A splash. Well, and the one lady threw me off on that. She said, well, how much is a splash? I'm like, this got to be your first date. Like, what do you mean? I don't even know. Don't ask me how much a splash is. If somebody knows how much a splash is, put that in the chat. How much is a splash? Well, she sure asked me that. I said, let me get a ice white chocolate mocha with a splash of honey. Well, how much is a splash? I don't know. Splash, just splash it. Just put enough in there to make the liquid move. Yeah. And then the other thing too is I'm a dog lover. I love dogs. But you know what I hate? I hate people who can't control their dogs. I'm a dog lover, but a bad owner hater. When you got the cute dogs on the nice leashes that you're being sure is fed well and groomed well and don't get loose. I love those people and love those dogs. But then you got the people who just let their dog get out and don't even know, and then their dog done bit somebody, and then it's a whole thing. People scared to walk, and people scared to just be outside because your dog is just getting loose. That stuff gets on my nerves. All right, so I'm done oversharing. we're going to get into it. So like I said, we're going to talk about Texas Tiffany is what I'm calling her today. Tiffany Henyard and her shenanigans. A new report came up. I guess brand new. I didn't want to get up and get into it late last night, but I saw it last night. But they talk about the spending reports and the credit card misuse because there's more and more stuff coming out on her. And you know, y'all got to give it to me. I try to give Mayor Henyard the benefit of the doubt when I see what it is. I see what you see. I'm trying to be an advocate. I'm playing the devil's advocate when it comes to Tiffany Henyard. But she messing up a whole lot of money, man. And they say it's like over 100,000 now in credit card spending. You know, she's just flying in and flying out, first class. Ruth Chris, steakhouse, all the steakhouses. She taking the whole crew out. I bet you she buying her boyfriend all kinds of stuff on the city's money. And it pisses me off even more because it's like, lady, you making damn near $275,000. You don't need the city money to do nothing. It's too early in the stream for me to start cussing because y'all know what I really want to say. Give me a few minutes and I'm going to tell you what I really want to say. But I just don't get it. And that's the thing about being greedy. I'm all for perks, you know. You're the mayor. You get a free cup of coffee somewhere. You know, you can put it in the budget that maybe they pay for your lunch or something, or you get a per diem, like a $1,500 per diem for the year. You know what I'm saying? Nothing outlandish, not $1,500 a day, but like maybe $1,500 for the year for meetings when you want to take when you're dealing with sensitive resident issues and you want to take them lunch or something, or maybe you want to do something that's a little bit outside the scope of work. You know, maybe you're buying an air-conditioned window unit for a 90-year-old resident. So, you know, stuff that just kind of makes sense. You do that once a year or something. Something a little tit, a little something. She out here spending all kinds of money, you know, and it doesn't make sense. So let's get on into it. You know, we're going to get into the new report. Tiffany done did something else. Let's find out what she done did, and then I'm going to talk about on the other side of it.
Has learned taxpayers are on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars more in travel costs for Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard and her administration.
Comes after WGN sued the village for refusing to turn over financial records as required by law. A judge sided with WGN. Investigative reporter Ben Bradley shows what those records reveal.
For a year now, we've been reporting on questionable spending by a South suburban politician named Tiffany Henyard. But we only knew half the story because we only had records from one of the two governments she runs. Now we can show you the real toll her travel is taking on taxpayers. The self-proclaimed Super Mayor is a prolific poster on social media, but what she rarely publicizes are her travels, trips frequently paid for by taxpayers.
If you want to have a good time, spend your own dime.
Despite being a trustee,
Now, didn't I just say that? If you want to have a good time, spend your own dime. The girl got a lot of dimes, over 200,000 worth.
This is the first time Tammy Brown has been able to see the village's credit card statements, records we had to get through a judge's order.
When you see things like this, it's like a punch in the gut.
Last January, we told you Tiffany Henyard and her entourage racked up more than $67,000 in travel-related charges in just 5 months. But that's just what was charged to Thornton Township credit cards, where she's the supervisor. When you add in what was billed to Dolton, trips for Mayor Henyard and her entourage cost taxpayers more than $100,000.
$100,000 on trips? Wait a minute. Where she was at? Where she was? Like, and who went with her? See, it's times like these where you want to be a part of her administration. You want an assistant job. $100,920. Where she was at? Where she was going? What she was doing? And just to touch a little bit on when they said these records and they sued, WGN sued the city. When you see people talking about making FOIA requests, we call it the sunset law where I am. And I'm in the state of Missouri. And so as residents, the documents that are in your city halls is not city hall's records, it's yours as a resident. It's your taxpaying dollars, you're running that. Okay. And so when you make a request by law, the city has a certain amount of time to get it to you. I believe it's between 48 and 72 hours to get it to you. Now, what they can do is they can charge you for copies. You know, sometimes it's even up to 10 cents per copy because you could be making just a frivolous request and not even care. And if people did that all day and then you just run the city's resources dry, it doesn't make sense. But you are supposed to have access to it. And if you don't get access to it, you have a legitimate lawsuit and you're gonna win because residents always have the right to know where their money is being spent and how things are being governed in their area. That's just what it is because you're supposed to be governing the people by the people. And that's why you hear them talking about these documents. And so since Mayor Henyard has been stalling these documents, that's why it comes out as bombshells every other day because people are playing catch up. They're looking at it like, wait, now what? What? 40,000 on wigs, 60,000 on $100,920 on trips.
We questioned Henyard about travel last fall.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you.
Look at her face. I mean, like, this is the thing. She be having that look on her face where it's like, I just don't believe you, Tiffany. I want to, but I don't. Like, I mean, she just look guilty. She be looking like she be looking like she don't even believe what she say. She'll just say it, and then you be like, what? And then sometimes she'll have like a smirk or a little laugh while she's saying it to where she's like, yeah, let me throw this on out here and see if they believe this. I swear.
You, though?
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
She didn't want to answer. She knows. Look at her. She knows it's a lie.
What is that?
You're lying.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Who is them?
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
When Henyard hits the road,
yes.
she and other village and township officials do so in style. Records show they often fly first class, pay for upgrades. They've stayed at luxury hotels, including the Four Seasons, and dine at steakhouses.
Oh my God.
See, I was actually playing with the Ruth Chris thing. I didn't. That's what I would have did. I wouldn't have stole the money though. I would have been using the salary that she gets. I mean, again, she getting that bag anyway. $275,000. You can go where you want to go, eat where you want to eat, stay where you want to stay. Like, you straight. What are you doing? What you using other people's money for? That's just greedy.
You just see these things.
Let's look at one trip to Austin, Texas in July of last year. 5 people, including Mayor Henyard, for 5 days. While we previously reported the township was billed $27,000, we now know the actual cost was more than $47,000.
Oh, damn.
What Dolton taxpayers were charged. It includes nearly $1,000 spent at an Austin Walgreens and a sports riding apparel store. The only
what you buying Walgreens for $1,000? I mean, I don't know what the Walgreens in Texas be selling because they say everything's bigger in Texas. Is that still a thing? Everything's bigger in Texas? But what you buying in Texas for $1,000? Somebody need to make that make sense. I mean, unless you buying snacks. I don't get it. So, okay. When me and my family have traveled, sisters, nephews, nieces, whatever, mama, whatever, we'll travel And then you may hit up the convenience store or hit up, Walgreens, Walmart, and get your snacks for your hotel room, right? Like you got a couple sodas or tea or whatever you do. But you ain't finna spend $1,000 on it. I mean, how many people you taking with you? Like, even if you took 10 people with you, you don't need to spend $1,000. I don't understand what she buying in Walgreens for $1,000.
Explanation for any of the travel was that it was to attend a conference.
I'm sure you guys had an awesome time on the backs of taxpayers, but what do we gain from any of these trips? We gain nothing.
Nothing.
Trustees say they've been demanding explanations for months.
You the ones that's costing the village money. I don't have that call. All right. Okay.
But Henyard and her team refused to share the credit card records.
We were never allowed to get those statements. So this is the reason why you hid it from us, because definitely we will have questions.
Mayor Henyard is in a situation where she feels like she's under attack, because she is.
Bo Brinley is Henyard's criminal defense attorney, hired after the FBI served subpoenas on the village and township earlier this year. He blames Henyard's top aide, Keith Freeman.
Keith Freeman made the decision on how these funds are being used. Keith Freeman is going on these trips. You understand, this is a new mayor. This is someone that is new to this job.
But she never thought, hey, I shouldn't fly first class. I shouldn't stay at the Four Seasons.
If there was a problem with any of that, if that's not how you're supposed to do it, she relied on Freeman to tell her. He's telling her this is how we do things.
How things were done in Dolton is costing taxpayers dearly. Records we obtained show the village leased 3 luxury SUVs for Henyard's use at a cost to residents of more than $374,000.
I still never understood why they needed 3 luxury vehicles. 3 of them anyway, but why they gotta be luxury? Like, what's that about? And then why her lawyer throw Keith Freeman under the bus? Well, let me not even say that. I know why he threw her under the bus. It makes sense. He's gotta move the presumption of guilt off of his client. So the lawyer's actually doing what makes sense. But again, like I said, we know everything is alleged because she hasn't been indicted or convicted of anything. But it just looks so damn bad. Like, man, oh, girl, please. I don't.
The mayor didn't spend any of this money. The Keith Freeman made decisions and reported to the mayor, this is what we're doing. The mayor trusted him until she didn't.
About that. This is me talking to people that understand business, that understand finance.
Back to those Dolton credit cards. They include nearly $25,000 charged in 5 months without explanation to places like Walmart, Target, and Jewel. There was $5,000 spent at local restaurants and Uber Eats. And Tiffany Henyard's personal photographer charged the village $3,400.
What I think is interesting about this case, this story, is you can be highly legal and unethical at the same time.
Kelly Richmond Pope is an accounting professor who has investigated municipal spending. She says the brazenness is what caught her eye.
Who does this? Who lives this way so out loud? It's almost like, I dare you to ask. I dare you to ask me. And I'm just shocked that a leader would think that they could get away with this type of behavior and that no one's going to ask them about it.
We out here at Taste of Thornton. Yeah, keep raining, but it's still going on.
Trustees for both of the governments headed by Henyard have now limited special event and credit card spending, but it may be too little, too late. Dolton is laying off workers after trustees discovered the village is millions in the hole.
We sort of knew we were in a bind, but not to this extent. This is devastating.
Federal prosecutors charged Keith Freeman with bankruptcy fraud. He's now cooperating with trustees investigating Henyard's spending, but he denies he's working with the feds. Freeman declined to comment. The FBI's.
All right, we didn't seen enough here. We've seen enough here. Damn, Tiffany, it's like every time you look up, it gets crazy. So they're laying off workers at the village of Dolton. Which what happens when you do that? That means you have less people to administer services, which means you can serve even less of the public. The residents are getting hurt now. That's never okay. You make decisions in government for the greater good. And some of those decisions are good decisions and some of them are going to be bad, right? Ain't nobody perfect. But when you see yourself going down the wrong path, you do have a moment to course correct because maybe you thought something was right. You want to try something. I'm a big advocate of trying new things. I mean, that's how you push the culture and societies forward. But you can't do it like this. You can't do it like this. Like I said, you don't make $3 million mistakes. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's not computing what's happening with that. So anyway, the saga continues with Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard. And I just feel so bad for the people. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Please hit the like button for me. Hit that like button so that we can push this out. I'm trying to grow, trying to get out here, get known, get seen, let people know what I'm into, what I'm on. Just trying to spread the word. Do the Lord's work. So I already know, and that's where it gets weird with the Tiffany Henyard thing. And I say this each day that I do this. It's like it's always going to be some content from Tiffany Henyard, or at least for a while, because the stuff is growing so fast that it's new pieces. It's another shoe that's dropping every day, right? And right when we think we know what's going on, we don't. Right when we thought it was bad, it's worse. It's always a new character in the game that's falling off the board. Now we got an official whistleblower. Like, it's like a movie. It's like they sitting in the back scripting this for us, but we don't know what it's. I don't know, man. It's damn sure entertaining, but it's at the residents' expense. So I really, really hate that. So moving on. Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, Tulsi Gabbard. I like her name, Tulsi. I think that's real cool. So who is Tulsi Gabbard? Tulsi Gabbard was a U.S. representative for the state of Hawaii. And she also is a military veteran. I don't think she still serves, but I know she had reached a certain level. I remember she was major, and then I think she's at lieutenant colonel or something now. Very respected in her community, but she actually was a Democrat at first. This is the thing about her. She was a Democrat, and in 2022, she switched over to the Republican Party. Now she's endorsing Trump, and it's thrown everybody off. She has a reputation for doing her own thing. It's not your traditional Democrat, not your traditional Republican. And I can respect that. I can respect that because she's moving with the current. As she gets new information and she understands new things, she's moving with it. She's bobbing and weaving. That's what you're supposed to do. But now they're saying that she's supposed to be helping Trump prepare for this big debate that he's trying to have with Kamala Harris. And they're trying to say or paint the narrative that Kamala is distraught because you didn't see this happening. Now, a lot of people say they didn't see this happening. I guess I didn't see it happening either with Tulsi backing Trump, but I'm not surprised. I mean, again, she's been beaten to the rhythm of her own drum for a long time. So anyway, let's get into her speech, her endorsement speech, and then let's discuss some things.
Mr. President, aloha. I know we got Hawaii in the house here. There we go. It is a privilege to be here with all of you, my brothers and sisters in uniform, especially on this day of all days. I had the privilege of joining President Trump this morning at Arlington Cemetery, where he joined two Gold Star families. and loved ones of Staff Sergeant Hoover and Sergeant G, both of whom were 2 of the 13 killed in the Abbey Gate attack 3 years ago today in Kabul. And I can tell you, as we were there, as he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, joining these Marines' loved ones, I felt the sorrow that he shared with them in their loss. I felt and saw his sincere appreciation for these servicemen and women who paid the ultimate price and their loved ones who continue to grieve to this day. This is personal for me, as I know it is for so many of you here. This is real. It's not just words. I first deployed to Iraq in 2005 with the Hawaii Army National Guard as a member of Charlie Med. As those of you who were deployed during that time know, it was the height of the war, and sadly, we took many casualties. And every day we were confronted with that high human cost of war and that sadness as we boarded the plane when we left, that we were leaving some of our brothers and sisters behind, only to lose others when we got home to suicide. So I mean what I say when I share with you that I know that President Trump understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives. Whether you're a soldier, you're an airman, a Marine, sailor, or a coastie, he keeps us in his heart in the decisions that he makes. We saw this through his first term in the presidency, when he not only didn't start any new wars, he took action to de-escalate and prevent wars. He exercised the courage that we expect from our commander-in-chief in exhausting all measures of diplomacy, having the courage to meet with adversaries, dictators, allies, and partners alike in the pursuit of peace, seeing war as a last resort. The truth is, as we head towards our decision as a country in November, the same cannot be said about Kamala Harris. In fact, the opposite is true, and we're living through this reality today as this administration has us facing multiple wars on multiple fronts and regions around the world, and closer to the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before. This is one of the main reasons why I'm committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House, where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief.
The thing about her, she's got such an intense demeanor, and I get it. I think that's the military in her, the militantness in her. I don't know if I like her or not. I don't dislike her, but I'm having a hard time reading her. Because she kind of gives me opportunist vibes, and the reason why I say that is because I respect her moving to the beat of her own drum by, switching parties based on what fits her needs and so forth. I get that. But she just always pops up in a convenient place to get the spotlight. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's how I feel so far. But I think her message is interesting. It's not as compelling to me as I would want y'all. Know I'm big on those compelling messages. Maybe it's the monotoneness of her voice. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I'm just hating.
Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war. We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace. And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its political opponents and undermining our civil liberties, weaponizing our very institutions against those they deem as a threat. Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected as president. President Trump has been their first and foremost target in this because they don't want us as voters to even have the option to vote for him. I've been their most recent target, added to a secret domestic terror watch list after exposing the truth about what kind of dangers we would face if Kamala Harris is elected as president. We as Americans must stand together to reject this anti-freedom culture of political retaliation and abuse of power.
Now, what she's talking about is allegedly, or not alleged, I guess you would say it's alleged. We're just going to go on, we're going to err on the side of caution and hang with the allegedly part. When she spoke out against Kamala Harris initially, Kamala Harris had her ID tagged with a certain code. And you know, when you go through TSA and they get to yelling out stuff, red and blue and all kind of stuff, and then they pull you aside and search you and all that. Apparently, it was one of those codes that had her on the terrorist watch list, which had her and her family probed for information, thoroughly searching all kind of stuff. Really, really inconvenienced her everywhere she was traveling. And she, meaning Tulsi, is saying that it was all because of her speaking out against Harris. If that is in fact true, we know it happened, that can be verified, but what we can't verify is that Vice President Harris directly orchestrated this. But if she did, that is a horrible abuse of power. You know, people gonna say stuff about you and it's gonna piss you off. And, you know, we've all had that moment, right? When somebody says something, you be like, man, I'll bust them upside the head. Man, you know, you think something crazy, but that's where it got to stop, right? You think it and let it go. Like, you know, you're going to get mad, you're human, but you ain't really supposed to retaliate, set them up and do stuff like that. You know, it just can't be that way, because if that's the case, we wouldn't, as a human race, be here for that long.
We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future. I am proud to stand here before you today, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. If you love our country, as I do, if you cherish peace and freedom as we do, I invite you to join me in doing all that we can to save our country and elect President Donald J. Trump and send him back to the White House to do the tough work of saving our country and serving the people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
All right. All right. Okay, Tulsi. All right, Tulsi. What do we think about this speech? I think it was a good speech, even though I wasn't quite feeling it because it seemed so orchestrated, so scripted. Maybe my bar is just really, really high on these speeches. You know, I don't know, man. You know, but I see a lot of support for Trump revving up in spots that you didn't necessarily think they would come from, and that's saying a lot. I remember before was a lot of people who didn't take Trump serious, and now whether they like him or not, he is definitely a serious competitor. And Kamala said in her DN speech that Trump is an unserious man in many ways. I could see that, but he's also a serious candidate in many other ones, and that Make America Great Again movement is super duper strong. You can't ignore that. And you see so many people say so much stuff about Kamala that's horrible. Because one thing we can get from this speech, she don't like Kamala. You know, they don't. She don't rock with Kamala at all. We got that. Now I don't know what kind of words they had, because I think it's something nasty happened behind the scenes. Like, I mean, nasty is in exchange, not, you know, nothing with an X or nothing, but to where if she really had codes put on her documents to make her get put on a terrorist watch list or something, that's more than just speaking out. Like, she probably spoke out and then said some crazy stuff behind the scenes too. You know, it's got to be a little bit more than that. And then she's publicly switching parties. It's a lot going on, because we got to remember, like, what we see on the scenes it's 10 times more going on behind the scenes. And government has a responsibility, a duty. Like I understand transparency, but I would say scheduled transparency. Here's what I mean by that. If something happened right this minute and then the president just came on TV and said exactly what just happened, full disclosure, without any context, without being clear on what's going on, everybody would panic. And we would stay in a state of panic and society would not operate. So they need to get the information, process the information, verify the information, weigh the information against other sources that they have, and then present it to the public in a way that we can digest it, because we ain't got all the time and the resources to follow up and research the way they do. So that's why I say scheduled transparency. I don't know. But what I do know is, like I told y'all, it's WWF, because this election has gotten all kind of interesting characters just popping up, saying stuff, doing stuff. You know, it's, even if you don't like politics, you got to admit right now is a really, really interesting time to just pay attention and see what the hell is happening. Because everybody got a story. Everybody got a thing. Everybody got a problem. And there's so much money that be coming up missing in politics. It's just crazy. Hey, y'all, if y'all in the chat, man, get my likes up, please. You know, we're trying to push it on out there. Just give me just one like. That's all I need from you. Just if you're scrolling on by, just do it one time. Just that button, just one time. Hit that like button just once. That'll do. That's a small task for you that would do something really, really big for me. Now, what is a Democrat? I thought I knew what a Democrat was. Apparently, I don't. I know a lot of things about it, but apparently I don't know what I thought I knew. I stumbled upon this documentary. This is an old documentary too, and I'm really going to fact check this, look into the claims, and bust this down for you. Not in this show today, but I want to just go through it with you and just give my initial reactions on it. But I'm gonna really, really deep dive into this because this is information that we need to know. And basically with this lady, she's a political science professor. And she's breaking down what the Democratic Party roots really are compared to the Republican roots. And how the Democratic Party may not be what you thought it was. Like I say, this is old, man. It came out about a year ago. But it's more relevant now than ever because I think it helps clarify false narratives. It helps unmuddy the water a little bit. It helps new voters and old voters alike get a different and deeper understanding of what's really going on. So let's get into this. What is a Democrat? What's she gonna tell us?
When you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party comes to mind? The Republicans or the Democrats? Most people would probably say the Democrats, but this answer is incorrect. Since its founding in 1829, the Democratic Party has fought against every major civil rights initiative and has a long history of discrimination. The Democratic Party defended slavery, started the Civil War, opposed Reconstruction, founded the Ku Klux Klan, imposed segregation, perpetrated lynchings, and fought against the Civil Rights Acts of the 1950s and 1960s. In contrast, the Republican Party was founded in 1854 as an anti-slavery party. Its mission was to stop the spread of slavery into the new Western territories with the aim of abolishing it entirely. This effort, however, was dealt a major blow by the Supreme Court in the 1857 case, Dred Scott versus Sandford. The court ruled that slaves aren't citizens, they're property. The 7 justices who voted in favor of slavery, all Democrats. The 2 justices who dissented, both Republicans. The slavery question was, of course, ultimately resolved by a bloody civil war. The commander-in-chief during that war was the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, the man who freed the slaves. 6 days after the Confederate Army surrendered, John Wilkes Booth, a Democrat, assassinated President Lincoln. Lincoln's vice president, a Democrat named Andrew Johnson, assumed the presidency. But Johnson adamantly opposed Lincoln's plan to integrate the newly freed slaves into the South's economic and social order. Johnson and the Democratic Party were unified in their opposition to the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, the 14th Amendment, which gave blacks citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, which gave blacks the vote. All three passed only because of universal Republican support. During the era of Reconstruction, federal troops stationed in the South helped secure rights for the newly freed slaves. Hundreds of black men were elected to Southern state legislatures as Republicans, and 22 black Republicans served in the U.S. Congress by 1900. The Democrats did not elect a black man to Congress until 1935. But after Reconstruction ended, when the federal troops went home, Democrats roared back into power in the South. They quickly reestablished white supremacy across the region with measures like black codes, laws that restricted the ability of blacks to own property and run businesses, and they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests used to subvert black citizens' right to vote. And how was all of this enforced? By terror, much of it instigated by the Ku Klux Klan, founded by a Democrat, Nathan Bedford Forrest. As historian Eric Foner, himself a Democrat, notes, in effect, the Klan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party. President Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, shared many views with the Klan. He resegregated many federal agencies and even screened the first movie ever played at the White House, the racist film, The Birth of a Nation, originally entitled The Klansman. A few decades later, the only serious congressional opposition to the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964 came from Democrats. 80% of Republicans in Congress supported the bill, less than 70% of Democrats did. Democratic senators filibustered the bill for 75 days until Republicans mustered the few extra votes needed to break the logjam. And when all of their efforts to enslave blacks, keep them enslaved, and then keep them from voting had failed, the Democrats came up with a new strategy. If black people are going to vote, they might as well vote for Democrats. As President Lyndon Johnson was purported to have said about the Civil Rights Act, I'll have them voting Democrat for 200 years.
You know, I'm captivated by this. Like I'm like blown away. And I've seen this before, but I'm taking it in a different kind of way. Cause I part of me want to redo this with more sources, more detail, more perspective on a lot of these dates and times and things around it. Because a lot of this is what I know to be factual, but some of it is taken out of context. The Democratic Party didn't start the Ku Klux Klan, but the guy who started the Ku Klux Klan was a Democrat. It did benefit. Some of these things weren't necessarily a Democratic push, but it definitely benefited Democrats, and it definitely put a Democratic spin on some stuff. So I don't want the narrative to be evil. Democrats are evil, and all evil in America came from the Democrats. But I do understand and can agree with the fact that a lot of evil that has come to America have been put into place by people who are linked to democratic beliefs.
So now the Democratic Party prospers on the votes of the very people it has spent much of its history oppressing. Democrats falsely claim that the Republican Party is the villain, when in reality, it's the failed policies of the Democratic Party that have kept blacks down. Massive government welfare has decimated the black family. Opposition to school choice has kept them trapped and failing schools, politically correct policing has left Black neighborhoods defenseless against violent crime. So when you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party should come to mind? I'm Carol Swain, professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt University for Prager University.
All right, Dr. Swain. Thank you kindly for breaking that down. When I stumbled upon this, it made me feel so many kinds of ways that I feel now. Because what I want to add to that narrative is that things must and always do change. Times must and always do change. And so just because an entity started believing or started with one roots don't mean that that's exactly where it still is. So we do have to look at the evolution and keep that in context. But we also have to look at the facts. What has been done for society under Democratic regimes? What has been done for society under Republican regimes? And like I've always said, you have to pick what works for you. So what I would say in a nutshell is don't be loyal to a party, be loyal to what it benefits you. Be loyal to your beliefs. Be loyal to your priorities. I like that. Don't be loyal to a party, be loyal to your priorities. We might put that on the shirt. But because if you look at this, Democrats bad, Republicans good. Well, we know some Republicans are some of the biggest people who advocate for the stuff that she said Democrats advocate for. And we also know that some Democrats are crazy. So I mean, and I would like to think that what we need in our lives is so much bigger than red and blue and so much bigger than what one party can claim over another party. Write your list, people. What you need, what your priorities are. And then on your list, pick out who's going to stand for those things that you want to happen. If you're joining me, thank you guys so much. Please be sure to push the like button for me. That's all I ask. You ain't got to send me $1. You ain't got to send me no money, but send me a like. Just push a like. Like it. Subscribe. That'll be awesome. All right, last but not least, we're going to get into Michaela. Oh, Michaela. You know, people have a field day calling in and messing with Michaela. Michaela has become a Republican pinata. But she good for it, though. She taking it like a G. I got to give it to her. Afro and all. Motherland swag. Again, to recap, so each day this week I have been ending the show with a caller calling into her, going off, and then she responding back. And we just seeing how she's handling the situation. What the goal of this is to take in the information that she's given. We fact check her, we process it through our own mental processes and figure out if we're learning something new or we hate what she's saying. We know that she is a Republican. She is a Trump supporter. But she identifies, or she claims she identifies with lower income Americans, the lower middle class, who are dealing with the issues that plagues us at our kitchen tables. So let's get into this and let's see what's going on with her now.
Aaron, independent in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I would like to address my comment to Mrs. Montgomery. If she doesn't know how she's in her current station of life based on resources or housing taxes or just her luck of the draw, I agree. You're not very smart. Thanks for taking my call.
Wait, Aaron. What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Exactly. Let's sound smarter when we ask the question, please.
Well, yeah, you made a comment earlier when you were living in Nevada and you moved to Atlanta. I don't know if it was my resources in Nevada, because I guess they had pretty good school system.
Actually, we don't. Nevada was ranked very low when it comes to education. It just so happened that our government allocates our dollars better. But go ahead.
But initially you said you didn't know if you were smarter, but if you think resources
in regards to how I feel my level of intelligence is in relation to the people that I've met out here.
Yeah, Michaela, let him finish. Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm sorry for talking while you're interrupting. Well, you go ahead. Carry on.
I think I understand what you're getting. You heard my sentiments earlier in which I said I moved out here, and I don't want to say that I feel like I'm smarter than anybody else, but was it the resources that were allocated to me? Was it the fact that I got lucky with amazing teachers? Nevada ranks very low on education. So let's not act like, oh, all of a sudden I'm not smart. No, I noticed that even with Nevada being ranked so low in education, I felt like the quality of education that I received was much better than the ones that kids are receiving out here.
Out the property taxes.
Okay, property taxes. So are you telling me that with all the black wealth that exists here in Atlanta, with all the black millionaires that live here in Atlanta, why in the world do 92% of APS students are illiterate? Make it make sense. And we have Democratic mayors, we have Democratic city council members, we have Democratic commissioners, and for whatever reason, 92% of the kids here cannot read. That statistic did not exist in Nevada. So again, I don't know if it was the fact that I got lucky. I can't say that, oh my God, it's the teachers that suck out here. I would never demean our educators here in Atlanta. But what we can acknowledge is the numbers, sir. And so while you want to call me not smart, please tell me what your side has done to fix the illiteracy rate that we see in our black children. Absolutely nothing. And in fact, not only have they not done anything to address the illiteracy issue, but then they're further confusing your kids by telling them that men can give birth, by telling them that there's 53 genders, and that by telling them that your love for your best friend must mean that you are gay, you are a pansexual, asexual. Kids under the age of anything high school should not be thinking anything sexual, period. Sexual should not even be in their vocabulary. So for you to say that I'm not smart because I'm willing to call out all of the degeneracy that exists within our current education system only points to your lack of intelligence and your lack of initiative to actually do something in regards to saving our children and saving our schools.
All right, let's talk.
Wow. Okay, she said a whole lot, and she wasn't wrong. And I think a lot of people, they take these positions and they act like they're afraid to open a book. Open a book. Get some of the data. You don't even got to open a book no more. Just open a search bar. Open a search bar and Google some of this information and figure it out for yourself and add value to that conversation. That's why I always say, please leave a comment, because you may say some stuff I never heard, didn't know. It'll spark me into doing some research and try to bring more value to you guys. Or you can help me do the research and say, hey, I found this. You need to add this into your commentary. That's what we need to do when we're making decisions, is important as electing the leader of the free world. That's a big job, just a little bit. So it's a little bit of work that goes into a job that's that big. Let's let her continue.
Talk to Sam in Rome, Georgia, Democrat. Hi, Sam.
Hi, good morning. And I have a question I want to ask her first. And then if you will indulge me, I do have a comment I'd like to make after I hear her answer to my question.
Sure, go ahead.
Before we get into it, too, remember she did all that complaining about the lack of education, but we also have a Republican governor here who had a hand in that as well. So it goes both ways. Anyway, I want to ask her, she touts herself as a smart person, so let's test it. What is the mitigating factor that made the Democratic South turn over to the Republican Party?
You know what, you guys? I'm so sorry. I just realized that I had already went over these pieces. I'm gonna let it play out, and I'm gonna speed along this part here. But the answer to his question is the civil rights movement. But let me speed past this part, you guys.
And I'm
What
waiting
made
for
the
your answer.
Democratic South turn over to the Republican Party?
What is the
I don't know what answer you're looking for, and I wouldn't know how to answer that. But I can say again, I only speak to my personal experiences, sir. So for people to question my intelligence as if my life is somehow invalid is very interesting to me.
So Sam, go ahead with your point. I believe you're talking about the Civil Rights Act.
The answer to the question is the Civil Rights Act.
The same Civil Rights Act that was authored by Republicans? Okay.
Can I finish, please? Okay. The act that gave you the right to sit in the chair that you're sitting in right now and vote. People in the city that you just moved into 10 years ago died for that cause. There are people still fighting for that same cause as we speak. In America, they were in the southern part of this state, to which I live and I love. They call people trying to fake the electors in this state in the Republican Party.
We also call illegals with IDs and trying to vote.
So if you will look at the history, to which I'm sure you claim to know or you do know, the history of your state, you should be aware that people have died for the cause to vote. And now the people
also died for the cause for us to read.
Hold on, Kayla, let him finish.
May I finish? If it's okay.
Okay, you guys, I am speeding past this part
Thank you.
because we've been through this part before.
Fighting for the same cause. That's okay if you want to be Republican or Democrat, but not these Republicans. They are of a different ilk. They are of a different structure. They are the same structure that left the Democratic Party to come to the now Republican Party. And that's my comment.
All right, Sam. Go ahead.
All right, so let's start with the 1964 Civil Rights Act, or the Voting Rights Act, correct? That was all employed by Lyndon B. Johnson to get black people to support the Democratic Party for the next 200 years. And unfortunately, the tactic worked because, much like you heard our caller say, they're still fighting for the right to vote. There's not one American citizen without a felony who does not have the right to vote. All you need is an ID, and you can go.
And I know that's so annoying when me speeding past it this way, but like I said, in the last couple streams, we went past this part and I clicked it and went back and didn't even realize it. So I'm sorry, you guys.
Vote. He also didn't acknowledge the fact that while he's saying we had fake electors, we also had fake citizens going to vote in our election. So, of course, I guess we just want to talk about election integrity in that sense. Next, the ploy to get black people to vote for them for the next 200 years was a fear tactic because, again, black people then thought that if they did not vote Democrat, they would lose their right to vote. And even though Ronald Reagan came in and didn't take away black people's right to vote, for whatever reason, Democrats, every election season, get up and talk voter suppression, protect your right to vote. Black people died for the right to vote. Black people also died for the right to read. So I wish a lot of you would please go read the Willie Lynch letters. I wish a lot of you would go read more about Jim Crow and how, the systems were set up to basically make us believe that we were victims for the rest of our life. So now let's talk about the migrant issue and how it relates to the 1964 Voting Rights Act, correct? The Voting Rights Act was put in place so that black people would be a loyal Democratic voting base. Black people are now leaving the Democratic Party.
Wait. Kayla, you're saying that the only reason the Civil Rights Act was passed was for votes?
No. The major portion of said legislation was the fact that it gave black people the right to vote, right? And Democrats touted the fact that they gave black people the right to vote. They then used fear-mongering to make black people believe that if they did not vote Democrat, they would lose their right to vote and whatever other rights and resources that were granted to them by these Democrats, correct? Now that you see black people leaving the Democratic Party, now that you see black people calling out the Democratic Party, now that you see black people tired of living in the same conditions that they were in when the bill was signed, they no longer have that loyal voting base. So you know what they're doing now? Now they're opening the borders. They're letting these migrants in. They're giving them these welcome packages full of food stamps, housing assistance, whatever else, housing and clothing and whatever else it is maybe that they need in order to come over here and live comfortably. Why? Because now when you have these illegal migrants coming over here, and it's clear that the Republicans are like, no, get them out. Now you have a new loyal voting base who's like, oh God, if we don't vote for the Democrats, we're not only going to lose our right to vote, but we're possibly going to lose our citizenship as well. It's never been a thing where we're going to do this for the betterment of the Black community or the Latino community. It's always been, we're going to do this so that we can stay in power and we're going to manipulate the masses into believing that we are for them. And even though they will continue to vote for us, we will never do anything for them, but we will play on their feelings for stuff that we did 60 years ago.
Okay. And Dave in Kemmerer, Wyoming, Republican. Hi, Dave.
Oh, yeah. My question is, I just want to tell her she's doing a fine job on there. Tell us how what's going on in this world, and I agree with her wholeheartedly. I appreciate her as a young woman and her knowledge of everything she does. It's just wonderful to hear somebody with all of her zeal and her knowledge, and I thank her for that.
All right, Dave.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jill in Maryland, Democrat. Good morning, Jill.
Yes. First, I'd like to know why she feels she has to smirk, neck roll, eye roll, and insult everybody that calls her, speaking over them. First of all, she is not that knowledgeable. She has not had experiences that other people have not had and not come out bitter and turning on people who helped her. She's like the proverbial crab in a barrel who pulls down any crab above her.
Well,
that's
Jill,
moving on.
do you have a specific question for Kayla?
Yes, did she set up the Chick-fil-A Trump event?
Is that the question? The answer.
What? This lady didn't. Why? Wait a minute. She just attacked her for. That's not.
The question is no. I actually just got invited to meet President Trump at a restaurant, and I found out the next morning that it was Chick-fil-A, and nobody that wanted to meet him was offended by the fact that it was a Chick-fil-A, and neither was I. But to go back to the, I don't know why she smirked, why she neck rolls, while she talks over people. It's okay for you guys to get on here and call me an Uncle Tom, to call me not smart, to call me dumb, to say I haven't done my research, to say I haven't lived a life like you. But then if I smirk, if I laugh, oh my God, what is this person talking about? Now all of a sudden you're offended. I think that's very interesting. Next, to say that I'm a crab in a barrel and I'm pulling people down. Actually, how could I be pulling people down if I was in the bottom of the barrel with the rest of you crabs and I decided to crawl out? And now here I am calling out the discrepancies that I've seen in the Democratic Party and asking you, why is the hood still the hood? The hood was the hood when you were a child. The hood is still the hood now that I have a child. That's 3 generations in which the Democrats have done nothing to help you. So it sounds more like you're the crab at the bottom of the barrel trying to keep everybody down there. And I'm the crab that crawled out and I'm saying, hey, let's get back to the beach.
Hey, man, she be reading the hell out of people, bro. Like, she's the girlfriend that you want, but what you like, she's the one you want when it's all good. Because when it's all good, she gonna cook for you. She gonna help you keep your stuff clean, get you ready, keep you motivated, keep you focused in the right direction. You know, love you down, all of that. Piss her off though, bro. She'd probably be the one to burn your house down and still sit on the couch while it's on fire smoking a cigarette. Like, you know, with that smile on her face. Look at it. But she ain't will go in because I'm sure she get mad and will tell you about yourself. You be like, wait, slow down. You ever get into an argument with somebody and you just be like, slow down. Like, because they going in so hard. You like, wait, give me a minute to, what did you say? What? Yeah, no, why? What? Slow down.
Kayla, we've got a text for you from Chas in Jacksonville, Florida. It says, Ms. Montgomery, you mentioned supporting ending the tax on tips.
I didn't. I wholeheartedly support.
Yes.
Yes, ending tax on tips. Yes.
Yes. And then the question is, tell me what will replace the $38 billion that would reported that helps to run the country. So how would you replace that income?
Well, we would put it more on restaurant owners to actually pay their workers a living wage if we're not going to take tax off tips. And then that money would be recouped from payroll taxes, business taxes, sale taxes, things like that. To act like the money can't be recouped from literally any other, compound is pretty interesting to me. I don't think that taxing the tips of workers who are already underpaid and therefore have to go out of their way to earn a tip from the customer should then have to pay money on that tip.
So would you support a raise in the federal minimum wage?
I think that the federal minimum wage should reflect the cost of living, but I can't say that we need to change the minimum wage until we get the economy stabilized, because minimum wage might be sufficient if inflation wasn't so high. So until we get inflation under control, I don't think we can talk about wages, because if we raise the minimum wage right now, that would only make the current situation in the economy worse. There's so many things outside of raising the minimum wage that we would have to address before we could go do something that big.
Stella, a Republican in San Diego, good morning.
Good morning. I'm grateful for the chance to say, Michaela Montgomery, you are speaking the truth. Keep speaking the truth, because people are afraid to speak it. And you're absolutely 100% correct about the things you're saying. It is so totally and completely unfair in this country. The immigration crisis, the crime, it's absolutely out of control. We can't buy groceries. People are struggling. The fact of the matter is, Kamala Harris is not coming out on television and talking about policies She's going to hide behind the camera on a teleprompter. She's not going to speak the truth. You're speaking the truth. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we're gonna stop it there. Man, I think y'all see why this whole Michaela Montgomery thing is entertaining to me. Because she's making a lot of good points. Now, is everything she's saying right? No. But is she speaking a lot of truths? Yes. And just because you agree with some of the things she say, don't make you a Republican. And you don't have to be a Republican to vote Republican. You don't have to be a Democrat to vote Democrat. Again, take your selfish opinions and beliefs and needs and desires and vote from that, because it needs to be about how you want to live your life and keep your family together. And it's okay to do that. It's okay. It's all right. You may vote different this time than you would have otherwise done it. You know, it's okay, whichever side you vote on. So anyway, we're gonna stop here. I'll be back tomorrow. And I love you guys. And remember, be unlikely. No, that's not how. Why do I do that? No, stay unlikely, be unstoppable. And I'm gonna catch you on the next one.